Let's pick up on the markets now. The world market activity expected to begin the new trading week, reacting to the U.S. Federal Reserve's new warning of higher interest rates, which are to remain for some time as rising global inflation along with recession fears continue. Chief Investment Officer at Benguela Global Fund Managers, Zwelakhe Mnguni, speaks to us now about the latest market developments. Mnguni, thank you very much for your time. Let's begin with that global market reaction to the hawkish stance expressed by the U.S. Federal Reserve Chairperson, Jerome Powell. What's your take here?
Yeah, I think the market was actually fooling itself in having these wild rallies in the past 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, certainly inflation, taming inflation is a mandate of the Fed, and certainly they've come out strongly saying that they are not going to compromise on that. I think there was an expectation that they would kind of take a less hawkish tone. But they seem to have actually stated quite clearly that they expect that rates would go to about 4% or just under 4% next year compared to between 2.25 and 2.5 now. So it's quite a steep climb. I mean, about 1.5% that is likely to be passed through in rates. So the market actually lost it completely. I mean, we saw the U.S. market being down between 3 and 4%. And I think Australia opened weak. Broadly speaking, global markets are very, very weak at the moment.
Yeah, well, let's bring matters closer to home. On the domestic front, what's expected to dominate the week's trading outlook then?
Yeah, I think there'll be a few data points that are expected to come out, and I think one of those would probably be the inflation data, and certainly we expect that there will be continued pressure in the local economy, and they also will put out the data about the banking or credit provision in the economy. I think that's probably going to show that the banks have probably opened up a bit in the last 3 months, but I don't see that being a accelerated stance in the coming months.
Yeah, let's talk company news then. Walmart beefing up its local executive structure. How do you view Jonathan Molapo taking over as its CEO?
Yeah, look, I think he's got good credentials, good experience, but certainly without taking anything away from his capabilities. I think he comes from a energy background and supply chain background, and I think when one looks at how Walmart got into this kind of situation, you actually need a lot more FMCG experience, and hopefully in the team that supports him there'll be enough people. But I mean, come from the energy sector to come and run this business when they actually failed to have an e-commerce strategy. They failed to have to understand their household goods market. I think it's quite a tall order, but I have nothing against him. I certainly think wish him all the best.
Let's talk about AfriSet. More legal trouble, this time in Botswana. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I missed that story. But as you know, I mean, there have been some issues in terms of it's a satellite business, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. Let's conclude then with the industry players in the meat market. They are crying foul over the losses due to a ban on the movement of cattle. And this is as a result of the foot and mouth disease, I should say, that is on the go. What can be done here to mitigate the impact?
Look, it's going to have a material impact on the meat industry. The price of meat might actually go higher, predominantly because if you can't move the animals around and optimize the feeding, you're probably going to have a lot of problems. But there might be a solution where the abattoirs probably slaughter on the farms and bring the product into the abattoirs. I mean, that might be a compromise, but I do think that there's going to be a lot of pressure in the next few months for an upward pressure on the price of red meat.
Yeah, okay. I can't resist this final question, Baba Mnguni, and it's got to do with the number of arrests that are being made at the moment. And is that likely to put the country in good stead when it comes to the much talked about grey listing? There's a big worry, particularly on the side of Treasury.
Yeah, I mean, I think I heard the Standard Bank CEO saying that, it's likely to happen, and I saw Fitch saying it might not have a material impact. I think that the country needs a refresher in terms of the political management and the governance. Because while there may be arrests, I mean, do we end up with a high conviction rate? I don't think so. And I think that there is a big problem in that area, in the law enforcement. So, yeah, I think the country is facing quite a big challenge in that regard.
Zwelakhe Mnguni, let me thank you very much for that markets update. He is Chief Investment Officer at Benguela Global Fund Managers.